So later in the school year was a spelling bee, and I didn't even know what a spelling bee was until the teacher stood up and explained what it was and how it worked. It was going to be on the last 2 days of the week. There would be four winners from each class. There were two classes in our grade, in fourth grade. And then those four winners would compete against each other. There would be a final winner, and then that person would get a trophy. And I can still remember her saying trophy and my eyes lighting up because that's all I needed to hear. There was a trophy involved, a medal involved, or anything like it. I was inspired. I was ready to go. And so that week at home, I kind of studied the dictionary. Not too much, but enough. Just learning new words just in case they were on or in the spelling bee. And so day one, Thursday, we had students moved our desk away from the center, and the teacher sat at a desk in the center. And then we would systematically go up one by one. The teacher would give us a word, and then we'd spell it out and work our way down into the final four, the top four people. And I made it. And so I was excited even more. I can remember laying on my bed with a dictionary that night and just looking up any word that might be on there. Oh, I think this word would be on there, and how do I spell it? And anyway, so next day, the finals was on a Friday, and we all knew that it was about to be the spelling bee, so we filtered into one room. And it was different than I expected because there was a substitute teacher that day. Now, the normal teacher for that room, she must have been out sick or what have you, and I wasn't too upset because I don't think she really liked me. I probably was the poor kid in a rich elementary school, and I was causing trouble, and there were some, issues with my grades at that point, but I just don't remember her coming up and being excited to see me ever, but at any rate, it doesn't matter. It was time for the spelling bee, and the substitute teacher's at the front of the classroom in front of the chalkboard, and she's announcing the finalists, the top 8 that have made it. And so she's listing off names, and she gets down to the last one, and name's Lisa. Lisa Troost, one of my good friends still today. But I noticed that my name hadn't been called. And I stood up and I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I actually was in the final four yesterday. I don't know. Did you miss my name? And she says, what's your name? And I told her, and she looked over her list and she said, no, I don't see you. And I started getting pretty passionate at that point. And I said, well, can you just maybe check? I don't know, if it's on the desk over there or what. And she said, yeah, sure, I'll check. And she went over to the desk and probably pretend shuffled through some papers or checked a different sheet. I don't know. But the point is, she didn't actually find my name. And she looked up. She said, what's your name again? And I said, Brian. And she looked down and she looked across a couple things and looked up. And she said, I'm sorry, but I don't find anywhere where your name is on this list. And I said, no, you've got to be kidding me. I went up against Eric Schmidt, and then I found this, or I actually spelled this word, which was really tough. And I'm just going off in class explaining to her why I was in the finals, because I knew I was. And so I started getting louder at this point, and she nicely said, well, we should probably go on with the spelling bee. And I'm still kind of huffing, and she's like, well, okay, go ahead and find a seat, Brian. And so I knew that I lost. There was nothing I could do to convince her, no one else I could go to prove it. So I sat down, I crossed my arms and just stared out the window. I didn't even pay attention to the spelling bee at that point. I was so upset. I felt like there was no justice. It was unfair. It kind of felt like it had been rigged a bit to me. And so I was sitting there wondering, like, why did I even try? Why did I even try so hard this week and yesterday? And I kind of gave up in a sense on even the fun part of school, you could say.